I'm very excited to introduce our panelists to you. Our first one is one of Nigeria's most stalwart champions of health. Under his leadership, healthcare in Gombe State, northern Nigeria, has become more affordable. The number of trained healthcare workers has increased, and childhood and maternal mortality have declined. Our second panelist, yes, just wait. Our second panelist has helped lead one of the most impactful philanthropic organizations in the world. The Gates Foundation has worked in partnership with African leaders, organizations, and scientists for the last 25 years. As a result, we've seen incredible gains across multiple sectors of the continent and are set up to drive progress even further. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage His Excellency Inuwa Yahaya, Governor of Gombe State, and Mr. Bill Gates, Chair and Board Member of the Gates Foundation. Please. Join me. Bill, you sit right here, and the Governor, yes. Yes, you sit there. And the Governor will sit right. Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen. We are very much looking forward to your insights tonight. Thank you for joining us. Please, a round of applause once again for our panelists. So, Governor, let me start with you, because your background is not in health, but you've become one of the most vocal advocates for primary health care in Nigeria. Why did you decide to focus on primary health care transformation as a central focus of your administration? What sparked the commitment? What was it? What story led you to decide to pursue this?
Thank you very much. And let me begin by giving the background.
Yes.
And as politicians, you know, we normally go around campaigning before eventually you become chosen to be governor or elected to be governor. And such promises normally align to the hopes and aspirations of the people. And you must prioritize and see that you are able to address. And when I became governor in 2019, my promises to people were mostly tied to, human capital development, because we are performing very low in the indices around that. And as such, I realized that going through the primary health care would have helped me achieve a lot in quite a short time. And so I had to work with the indices I found and see that I effectively utilize, in order to encourage the health workers and the health system to go in line with the earnings and aspirations of the people. And the statistics I found were really very low.
Right.
And for example, attendance or attention in primary health care was not obtained 100%. In fact, it was just about 53% in the state. Access to primary health care, that is, access to secondary health care was by far much higher, lower than expected, 90%. Could not access basic secondary health care with ease. And our immunization coverage was just about 18%, and there was only 3.5% release in the budget in order to finance health expenditure. And also there was a multitude of out-of-school children, around 550,000 or so by the account of UNICEF. So there was so much that I now felt I had to prioritize and face both health and education. In order to tackle health, focus on primary health care became very imminent. And then I had to focus on getting to the people in the right places. And we attempted by having to do with upgrading the primary health care system in not less than 114, which are the wards we have. And that I was inspired to do so because of my attendance of the Seattle table.
We're playing it safe.
Oh yes, but I had to do so because I had to take that bold decision. Otherwise, I would not have achieved my aims and targets, getting to the people and building hopes in them and inspiring them to follow me as their own leader. So that enabled us now to improve on the situation and the statistics as it is today. coverage of immunization is around 50%, and access, that is, to primary health care has also increased, because now we have about 45%. And besides that, we equally have all the infrastructure needed around the health sector.
And a decline in maternal and
oh yes,
mortality,
obviously, because it's not only the resultant effect is not only in just attendance, but child mortality, maternal and child care has improved, and also mortality has reduced, and also the impact of the operations of the primary health care centers has reduced, absenteeism, and the staff are well motivated, and they're doing much better than we wanted them to do.
But I'm sure, a round of applause for the governor, please, for everything that they've achieved in Gombe State. But I'm sure there were challenges along the way, which we'll address in just a moment. But Bill, let me come to you now. You've announced a landmark commitment, pledging to spend $200 billion over the next 2 decades, with a large portion of that focused on the African continent. That deserves a round of applause. Because this is happening at a time when there's a great deal of concern about the declining levels of foreign aid, right? Especially to the African continent. So, Bill, I think we all want to know what inspired you to do that, and how will the foundation ensure that this investment strengthens local institutions and avoids dependency, that it's not charity?
Well, the Gates Foundation got started in the year 2000, and the basic guiding principle was that all lives have equal value. And so I was curious to understand, why do children die? What do they die of? Where do they die? And it was pretty stunning to find out that the chance of a child dying in northern Nigeria is 50 times greater than in a rich country. It's one of the for a place without war, it's one of the worst places in terms of child survival and maternal survival. And so I looked and I said, okay, are people taking this seriously? Are they making the medicines cheaper? Or are they tailoring the medicines to the particular needs of those areas? For example, investing in new malaria tools. And the answer was no. And so that became the guiding light for the Gates Foundation. Over 70% of what we've spent, the $100 billion we've spent in these last 25 years, went to global health. And throughout that 25 years, we've developed deep partnerships throughout Africa, here in Nigeria. And we've had amazing partners who understand the delivery, the way that we can work and help government. Government in the long run has the responsibility for all of this work. We're there to accelerate these systems. It's very exciting that if you improve health, it actually accelerates the economic growth of a country. And eventually, we've seen with Asian countries that invest in health, they grow their economy, and eventually they get to this middle income status, and they're able to be basically self-sufficient. These next 20 years, the countries in Africa will get to that status. So helping them accelerate that, helping understand, okay, what are the unique local challenges? Which things do we need to make simpler, bring the price down? That's done as a partnership.
Right.
And the last 25 years went way better than I expected. That is, the childhood death globally and in Africa was cut in more than half. We went from almost 10 million worldwide to now less than 5 million. And I feel confident we can cut that in half again, even though, as you mentioned, right now we're in a stunning and completely unjust withdrawal of support from a number of rich governments, including the United States. But even despite that, which is going to make the next 4 or 5 years, we'll have some reversal because it's just too large and too sudden to overcome. We will get back to incredible progress reducing those.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how big of a reversal and what's the timeline? What timeline do you expect to continue making that progress again?
So the number of children who die every year has gone down faster every year for the last 25 years, over 3 times faster than ever in history. And, you know, and there's some, you know, very key things that were done there. There were new vaccines that were made cheaper, like rotavirus, pneumococcus, penta. And Gavi is a group that helps fund most of those costs to make sure they get to all the world's children. So that alone, the bed nets for malaria, the preventing HIV transmission from mother to child, you know, a little bit of progress on malnutrition, although that will be a big thing in the years ahead. So all that came together, and you know, people started looking at vaccine coverage, and you know, various countries can compare their vaccine coverage. You know, there's some countries in Africa that have over 95% vaccine coverage, better than the United States. There's some countries that only have like, you know, 50% vaccine coverage. So quite a range that if we, you know, spread best practices, we can do.
So that there is hope that we can still make progress even if there's a decline in the coming
years. Taking the best ideas from all over Africa and sharing them, that alone would be a gigantic thing.
Right. Governor, Bill talked about challenges that are unique to the local context. Talk to us about some of the challenges that you face while trying to transform primary health care in Gombe State, and how you push through these challenges.
Well, considering the location of Gombe State and the nature of the terrain, you know, we face challenges, especially with the basic infrastructure, be it the roads, water supply, you know, electricity, and also facilities that are needed in order to manage successfully the primary health care centers. 2, you know, the attitude of workers, especially those located in the rural areas. You know, there's a lot of truancy, and because of asceticism, and sometimes to the extent that some of them are even ghost workers, and eventually they may generate to become ghost pensioners. So extra efforts need to be made in order to keep them on track. And for that, we had to be ingenious to start using biometric machines to take attendance and monitor the performance of our health workers in their various locations. So there is also an issue of finance, funding, you know, because the challenges of today are normally tied around finance. The budgetary allocation to the health sector was only about 3.5% at the inception of my government, but I now added upscale to around averagely between 2020 until now to around 8.5%. So we're trying to reach the national average, and those are really helping us in catching up and making the situation better. But above all, what is most important is to ensure that at least whatever little you have, you utilize it properly, and you align yourself with partners that are able to understand your system and give you the support you need in order to succeed.
Yeah. So, Bill, you heard about some of the challenges. They're real, and the urgency to act is high. Are you hopeful that Africa and Africans can still deliver on these big health goals? And what do you believe needs to happen now to make that happen?
Well, certainly, Gombe is an exemplar, you know, really focusing on the performance of the workforce and being willing, even with very tight budget conditions, which is true throughout Africa, to emphasize not just health, but specifically primary health care. And we see very quickly when that's done, the childhood deaths go down, the maternal deaths go down, the nutrition rates go up. We heard earlier about how AI is coming along, AI which is improving at the global level, and AI which is being shaped specifically by entrepreneurs in Africa to meet African needs. And so if you take the combination of, Africa will be getting richer as the years go on. There'll be more philanthropists. The rich countries will restore some of their generosity. And on top of that, the sharing of best practices and the innovation. We have some incredible tools coming along, even for things like sickle cell disease that, we need to get rid of that. It's a dramatic burden. So when you combine the innovation and the growth that we'll see, global excitement and amazing work being done here in Africa, yes, if you look at this 20-year time frame, we can achieve even more than we did in the last 25 years.
That's impressive. A great deal of hope there. I think we have someone, a round of applause please, but I noticed that we have someone in the audience who can provide some valuable insights into what we have been talking about here. I'd like to call on Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who's in the audience here with us. Alhaji, thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
You've often spoken about the importance of Africa building more of what it consumes, from cement, of course, to food, to vaccines. What do you think is holding us back from scaling African-made solutions faster? And how can business leaders like yourself work more closely with governments, with other entrepreneurs to make this happen?
Thank you very much for the invitation. I think you're right. We can make it happen in business and also in health. We've actually done a lot. Let me start with health. In health, through our own partnership with Bill, we've actually, end polio. The polio. And then also we have participated and also did quite a lot in nutrition. So that's, on partnership. But in terms of business, it's true. We have done quite a lot by reversing a lot of things, Nigeria used to be the second largest importer of cement in the world. And now we have reversed it. Nigeria now exports cement more than any other African country. We've looked at also challenge in terms of fertilizer, where our farmers were suffering no fertilizer. We built from the zero level to the second largest plant of fertilizer in the world. So Nigeria now, not only we export, we actually export 37% of our fertilizer to the United States of America.
Wow.
Again, in terms of petrochemical, Nigeria imports about 350,000 polypropylene. Now we have addressed that issue. It's not going to happen again. We'll export, not only that we'll meet the local demand, we'll export 600,000 out of the country to serve all the other African countries. Petroleum, Nigeria, we have now capacity. And, we went on and said, okay, fine. What's the highest, biggest capacity of refinery that has ever been built in the world?
Right.
By Saudi Aramco, which is 430,000 barrels. We say that let us do what has never ever been done before. That is to do 650,000 barrels per day. And we have delivered. This month alone, that's May. May alone, we have actually exported 400,000 metric tons of PMS, which is petrol. Nigeria used to import 100%, but right now, no more.
Okay.
So when we have done all these successes in business, there's no way we will not be able now to do this in health. And what we need to do is to make sure that we stop this health tourism. And we should now get into producing our own drugs. We should now make sure that when you are sick, you don't have to travel abroad. All of us. including myself. If we are sick, we shouldn't have, but we need to do partnership with Bill and other
let's
people.
Hear from Bill about that. Bill, you heard Alaji's call there, a partnership and solutions that are rooted in local realities. What do you, how do you react to what Alaji Aliko Dangote has said there?
Well, we've had an amazing partnership with Aliko across almost everything we do. The polio fight, figuring out how to get the primary health care facilities in very good shape. He and I, even in Niger and Chad, we've worked in the surrounding countries as well. So, it's great to have somebody who knows the country. There are things that are global technologies that will contribute, and you've got to tune them to the particular needs. And, it's a constant learning journey. That's partly why it's so much fun for me.
All right. Well, we're coming to the end of our panel discussion, but I have one final question for each of you. Governor, I'll come to you first. We are operating, of course, today in a very complex environment, from shrinking aid to rising local demand. So as we look ahead, what action would you advise, do you believe is critical today, whether from leaders, from the young people, from funders, to not just protect the progress that we've made until today, but also to drive meaningful, sustainable development across Africa? Governor, I'll go to you first. The advice you would give to your fellow governors and to young people in Nigeria today?
Yeah, I think in that regard, I will advise that we be ourselves, look at ourselves in our true color with our conditions and the environment in which we operate. Equally, try to innovate solutions to our problems, because it's possible. We have the capacity with this disclosure from the young men, especially through artificial intelligence and the support of people like Alaji Aliko and the rest of our entrepreneurs. We'll be able to have solutions to most of our problems. But where necessary, we can invite partners to look at the problems through our own perspectives, so that the solution will be inbuilt with a view to now sustaining it even after succeeding in overcoming those challenges.
All right.
Yeah.
Bill, to you now. You've helped achieve some great things on the African continent over the last 25 years. What would you do differently in the next 20 years?
Well, the amazing thing about Africa, and every time I show people this slide, is it is a very young continent. The portion of children born in Africa is going up to be over half during this century. The city we're in today will be by far the largest city in the world. So that'll be interesting and keep things vibrant. But, so Africa has this incredible asset of its youth, and that will make it the most interesting continent throughout this century. How much that youth can really drive progress will depend on the investment decisions we make in the next 20 years, in their health and their education. And so if we prioritize that, boy, there's an unbelievable future here.
And we will leave it on that hopeful note. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for your invaluable insights, and thank you for being on this journey with us. Today is a celebration of what happens when innovation meets impact, and when partnerships is not rooted in charity, but in shared purpose and mutual respect. So thank you very much again for your insights and for being on this journey with us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor.